Hello, friends, and welcome. Maybe, as a golf fan, the best phrase ever uttered in sports. The 2025 Masters is here, and we're going to break it all down for you. We're going to talk about the pairings. We're going to do weather report, course conditions, build our own Masters dinner, storylines throughout this crazy year where it feels like it's wide open. We're going to give you our official picks. Mine have changed already multiple times. So we'll give you our official big bet energy picks for this Masters. And we'll finish it up with a what the fuck Wednesday, because it's Wednesday. It's the Wednesday before the Masters. We're dialed in. Come dial in with us on Big Drive Energy. Big Drive Energy Masters preview. The first major of the year in 2025 is amongst us. We're amongst it. I'm looking forward to it. First, before we get into all the storylines and all the fun stuff regarding the Masters talk, how's your week been? It's been a solid week since we talked. I know we chat, but we always leave a few things for the pod. So how's your last week been, brother? How has the weekend gone? Have you done anything Masters wise this week to get? I feel like I haven't gotten all that into it, and usually our pod gets me that into it. So I'm kind of waiting for this moment to just really dive in.
Yeah, I definitely was like planning out when I was going to sit down and take my bets. And I know you and I have both struggled with, like, we're just vacillating on who we want to take. I just kind of want to bet mostly everybody in the field just to get a winner out there, because it feels like it's been nothing but heartbreak this year. Maybe it'll be a little serendipitous that I'll hit my first winner this week at the Masters, with it being the first major of the year. But I did sit down this morning, get my bets locked in. So I feel relatively dialed. Fortunately and unfortunately, I am going to be at a bachelor party this weekend. And maybe this can be a survey for everybody out there. Would you want to go to a bachelor party on Masters weekend? Like, we're playing golf in the morning 2 of the 3 days, and then we're watching golf the rest of the day, which in a vacuum sounds dope, but I am going to miss. I'm traveling to Charlotte tomorrow, basically from 12:30 to 4:30. So I'm going to miss a good chunk of the afternoon times. And I then Friday, we'll be able to watch the afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and then obviously we'll be live Sunday evening. I'm gonna have to find a place to go live that has a TV in this house in Charlotte, which will be interesting. But I am pretty stoked for it. It's just like the Masters, I feel like, is the one week you just want to sit on your couch and do nothing but watch golf. You feel like you're missing out if you're not watching every single second of it. So I'm definitely going to have to be streaming it on my phone on the golf course. Like, there's going to have to be, I'm going to have to get a little flexible with how I'm watching this week's Masters. But other than that, I'm doing pretty great. I've been teaching quite a bit lately, which is awesome. Kind of a weird, people are kind of getting into golf season now. It has been cold as shit here, though. It's been like in the mid 40s and like super windy and shitty out. So that hasn't been really fun. But other than that, yeah, just plugging along, trying to stay in the gym. It feels like it's not working, but I just keep doing it anyway. And other than that, I'm ready to get this fucking week started. I am ready to be hurt again by my gambling picks. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we did have some picks for the Valero last week. You ended up with the top 10, so shouts to you on your Andrew Novak top 10. You're heating up just in time for the Masters to start. But yeah, you have been teaching a lot. You gave a 4-hour lesson yesterday to somebody in their own home. Discuss that.
So it was 3 hours. And it was funny because this dude asked me to come to his house. I had never met him before. Ended up being super cool. lived in a super dope house, like had a full Foresight quad set up in his basement, had a sunken simulator set up, had the full bar downstairs, had some jerseys, like very, very nice house. And when I walked inside, I was like, I can see why you'd rather do the lessons here than anywhere else, because this is probably nicer than anywhere we're going to be doing lessons. But so I taught him for a couple hours, and I'm not shitting you. This guy was the most, and all golfers are crazy. Don't get me wrong. All golfers have thoughts, but immediately he goes into, should my takeaway be here or here? Or should I be at the top? Should I be here? Should I be there? What do I feel in transition? And I'm not kidding you. This is all in the same sentence. He's like, where should I start here and then go here? Where should I finish? Do I need to rotate more? Do I need to? I was like, holy shit, dude, let's break this down. And actually you could tell he's a former athlete, very good player, very athletic guy, pretty solid player. Like he's got a lot of potential to be very good. But I basically was like, what do you want to get out of this? Because he was hitting a lot of good shots. He was hitting some pole draws, but like for a 7-iron, he was drawing it maybe 10 yards left of his target. So I'm like, if you're doing that all the time. So tried to work on a few things with him, and then he wanted to get into a short game. And then, so we spent a full 2 hours doing that. And then his son came down, who plays college football. Excuse me. And he's like 6'4", big motherfucker. He's a edge rusher for a college out here in New Jersey. And so he goes, why don't you help my son out? He goes, I'll take care of you. And I was like, okay, I know what that means. So that's great. And then he goes, do you want a beer? And I'm like, well, sure. And he hands me a Stella, and we just sit there drinking a beer, and his son's just ripping on it. And I'm trying to help his son. His son just started playing, but he's one of those dudes that just already swings at like 115, 120 miles an hour. I mean, he's played like kind of his whole life, but just started getting more into it like this last year, and just super athletic dude. Kind of a typical athlete swing though, a little over the top kick out and transition. So I tried to calm that down a little bit, but I ended up being there from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock PM, and he took care of me pretty well. So I was happy with it. And I texted him after. I was like, hey, thanks, man. Like, hope you guys enjoyed it. But it seemed like he got a lot out of it. Like he was very, very happy by the end of it. Showed him a new chipping technique, got his irons dialed in, got the driver. So the funny part is, I walked down, and this is a multi-million-dollar house. And I walk downstairs, and there's a bag sitting there with all new PXGs, a new ping driver, a Bettinardi putter, this and that. And then we get into the simulator, and there's an old set of Nike like Vector irons. So you remember those red irons? I think.
Oh yeah.
Maybe played them back.
I had the driver, the VR driver that was like half the back of the face. There was like half there and half not there.
Yes. Yeah. It was like hollow in the back of the driver, basically. So we get down there, and there's the Nike irons. There's this old TaylorMade like M4 driver, an old Nike Sasquatch hybrid, an old putter, old wedges. And I'm like, what are these? He goes, these are mine. Those PXGs are my son's. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, you're playing these clubs that are that old. So he was just married to these clubs, and he goes, I'm going to get new clubs once my swing feels better and all this. But he was legitimately playing with 15-year-old clubs. And then he goes, do you think I'd hit it a little further with newer irons? And I'm like, yeah, I think you would. Like, if you had last year's irons, I would not tell you to go get new irons, but your irons are 12 years old. And then he hands me his driver, this old M4. And I don't know what it is, but this thing is like, it sat like 15 degrees open. He goes, does this look open to you? And I'm like, yeah, it's very open. And then he grabs his son's driver. That's the new ping driver. And the face is dead square. And he's like, this feels so shut to me. I'm like, this is just legitimately pointing at your target. So people just get so fucked up in the head with their alignments sometimes that you got to have a full reset. And that's kind of what we did. But overall, it was a great lesson. No, I've done a few lessons at people's houses before, but it's an interesting deal at first when you don't know them, and then you get to know them and it's all good. Why is Spencer wearing shades inside? You must be new here. If you're welcome to Big Drive Energy.
Welcome to Big Drive Energy. This guy, Hudson. I am this guy. I'm that guy. You're this guy. I'm that guy that wears shades on every single podcast we do. Just feel like it's my vibe. So that's your answer, buddy.
He basically wears sunglasses because he's looking at his phone most of the time, and he doesn't want me to know that his eyes are staring straight down instead of actually in the camera at me. So
that is semi-correct, but also I just feel like I like the way I look better in sunglasses. Like whenever my eyes just don't look great on camera, so we choose to hide them.
You got those Pete Davidson butthole eyes or what?
Call me baby PFT, whatever. Yeah, I got some face issues, some eye issues. So you might see him at some point when I usually start laughing a lot during the podcast and Mitchell goes off on some tangent. Like I start crying and then I have to wipe my eyes and my glasses get all wet. Right now, something's in my left eye. So these might be coming off pretty quick. It's just pissing me off. But yeah, 4-hour lesson in somebody's house is you were texting me about it before and you were like, what do I do here? What's the protocol here? How much should I charge this guy, etc.? And it turned out like it worked out for you, but it is kind of weird when you're giving somebody a lesson that doesn't have like a specified price or it's something different, and you don't want to lowball yourself and make it not worth your own time, but then you also don't want to charge them so much. They're like, well, was this worth $300 or whatever it ends up costing? So pretty interesting scenario, and glad that they left with they left pleased from the lesson and they were happy what they got out of it, because a lot of the lessons I give nowadays, which are few and far between, is kind of the exact opposite. And I'm like searching for a million answers on what I could have done better, how I could have helped them and not given them. Dude, every time I give a lesson, it's fucking clockwork. It's all right, I'm going to stick to one thing, and then I see another thing go wrong and I go there, and I see another thing and I'm like, go there. And then it's just a giant clusterfuck of me just talking in circles. So
I feel like you receiving a lesson from you is like getting dicked down by a guy with a small piece. You just kind of leave unsatisfied and wondering if that's all you've got. Like you're like, oh, well, I guess this is it now. You kind of look around.
Yeah, I guess the only rebut I have to that is I'm not the guy with the small piece. I may be. I'm not denying that part. But like, I'm not the guy that leaves there and is like, oh, that was the greatest time of my life. I know how bad it was. I'm fully aware of
You're also disappointed
what
in
down
yourself
there for that hour.
You guys are both walking away and you feel like you have to apologize. You're like, I'm sorry, dude. That
I try to walk away
wasn't my
as quick
best
as I
work.
can.
You're just so hot. That's what it was.
Just so hot. Can't believe it. This never happens to me.
How was your week, Big Chief? You get out and hit some range balls in your jeans or what?
Yeah, no, not in my jeans. Wore joggers this time. Hit some range balls. My wife dropped me off. She took the kid and went and did some thrift shopping. So I caved in
the driving range.
I caved in the face of my 5-wood, so that was really cool. It was unironically my last swing of the day. She was in the roundabout ready to pick me up. I was like, all right, we're getting one more swing in. I felt really dialed on the range. I was working on a few things, just kind of going through club to club. Started with the 60, went up to the 55, then 50, then all the way through the whole bag. Didn't hit the driver once or the hybrid once, ironically, just all the irons, kind of working on a few things, figuring out. I set down a club for some alignment, making sure that's in place, because I feel like I'm hitting it very left of where I'm aimed. And it's just, I'm kind of lost and hitting some weird golf shots that I'm not normally used to hitting. Like I hit plenty of bad shots, but it really fucked you up in this game when you hit plenty of bad shots that are not your normal bad shots. Then you kind of go in this mind numbing thing where you're just down this rabbit hole of, why am I hitting it left now? Why am I hitting it left and drawing it when I normally do not do either of those things? So I was working through a few things, get the 5-wood out. I'm like, all right, because we've got a member guest coming up here in July, a couple months away. So I'm kind of thinking through my golf course that I remember at Inverness. Shout out Inverness out here. Pretty tough golf course overall, but it's tougher even for me because it's not a lot of driver, and there's not a lot of places where hitting driver really helps you. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna finish up with like 20 of these 5 woods. I've hit the piss out of this thing a few times, also topped it a few times. Not a fucking PGA Tour player out here, but I was like, all right, I'm going to dial it in with this 5 wood, really get comfortable with something less than driver off the tee to play this golf course. And I hit like 10 good ones. I'm like, all right, I know the first hole kind of use a draw. I hit some draws with it. Then I'm like, all right, let's just swing hard and not have any swing thoughts and see what happens. Cause that's normally what happens on the course is like I make swings, and I was hitting some high cuts, hit a few fades and slices. But overall, I was like, all right, I feel pretty good about this club. And then the last swing, I swing. And it was like, I felt like it was the same feeling as if the ball was broken. The ball went like probably 10, 15 feet in the air and landed. I carry the 5 wood out here about 240, 250, maybe something like that. It carried about 180 yards and was a dick high laser. So I was like, what the fuck? Like that ball must have been broken, weird. I set my club down and there's like a rattling, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh shit, I maybe pop, how the heads just get loose on these clubs nowadays, or you can hear the little balls of epoxy in there, or whatever. Gets loose. And I look down at my club and I just see the back of my club through the face. And I'm like, holy shit, I caved the face in. And this kind of sent me down a sad path of like, I really don't like getting new golf clubs. It's fun. It's exciting to think.
I was going to ask you, what's the new addition? Like, you're not going to play with 13 clubs. You got to get something.
I know. So now I'm on the hunt. I'll probably go to like a PGA Tour Superstore and find some, backwoods 5 wood that's on the sale rack, because I really don't hit it that much. But what I am going to do is I am going to try to I'm going to have them take the shaft from my current 5 wood, and whatever club head I buy, I'm just going to have them put this shaft in it because I really liked this club. And, this was a free 5 wood that our boy Justin gave me like 6 years ago. And I didn't hit it a ton, but I really am trying to work on less than driver off the tee. So worked through that. Now it's got a hole dead in the center of the face. Really great stuff. And I'm going to go now find a new 5 wood because I need my hybrid's good off the tee, but I also just need something a little bit more. I need something that if I really want to go after one and I'm like 280 out on a par 5, 275, I can get after it and get closer to the green than my hybrid, which I then try to hook, and then it turns into a duck hook low mess that's left in the water. So caved in the 5 wood, but hit some range balls, felt pretty decent about it. Trying to get out this week, but I will be in Arizona. I'm also traveling this weekend, golf tournament down in Arizona that I'm running. And so I'll be down in Arizona Friday and Saturday, obviously watching the Masters a ton. Hopefully I'm buying the Wi-Fi on the plane because it's like midday Friday. I'm definitely going to have to be dialed. And then we're doing like a Masters watch party. The tournament's later in the day. So by the time the tournament starts, it's already 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. at Augusta. So the day is almost over. So I won't miss a ton of it Saturday. Coming home very, very late Saturday night. We'll be dialed in all day Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, check out our live show as they come down the stretch. We'll go live as the leaders, or the final group probably hits about 15, 16. We'll tweet it out, figure out when that is, put it on our Instagram. If you're not following us on all those, do so. Big Drive Energy and Big Drive Energy Golf on Insta. You got anything else for me, or should we just get into this? Should we just dive headfirst into this Masters preview?
I was going to give you a suggestion on your next club choice. I would go with something a little bit more low spin if I was you. It feels like sometimes that 5 wood was just so spinny, and maybe you have an extra stiff shaft in that thing, correct?
I think so. It's either stiff or extra stiff. It's the even flow, the Project X even flow. So I'll have to check it. I was just so baffled by the head having a giant hole in it that I couldn't think straight. I just went right to the car and fucking sat and pouted.
What was it like for the first time, feeling like you hit the back of something, like you hit the bottom of something?
It was quite enjoyable, to be honest. I hit the center too, and the back all in one swing. So pretty pleased with myself on that.
That was, it might be one of your best swing. Like, I honestly don't think you've hit that thing more than 100 times in like the 5 years that you've owned it. I really don't know how you caved the face in. Maybe I do think that shitty range balls can have an effect on that. Like if you're hitting some real rocks, they can do some damage to your club face. Because I've also caved in a 3-wood face as well, and Lord knows I'm not creating enough speed to really worry about that. But it does happen. So I would go something like low spin 3-wood or even a lower spin 5-wood with just kind of a low launch, just something that's not going to get up in the air and float too much.
Okay. Well, I'll send you some photos when I go thrift shopping at Golf Galaxy or PGA Tour Superstore. Go check out the sale rack. Love that.
Love it.
All right, so let's dive into this year's Masters. This is the point where we start talking about real golf, although our rambling today was a lot about golf. So if you're new to the show, this guy Hudson, welcome. We usually ramble for about 20 to sometimes 40 minutes, and then we talk about golf and the PGA Tour, the Live Tour. This week, obviously, previewing the Masters. And let's start out with the ever-famous major weather report from Big Drive Mitch here. Look at this production value that we've got. If you're not watching on the YouTube, make sure to always check this out on the YouTube because you get to see the greatest production value of all time. I've got a weather report from Fox 35 Storm Team and the Masters forecast. So would you like to get into your Masters report? Ideally, hopefully you've been working on your Georgia accent. Let's see what you got.
I was working on it in the shower about 30 minutes ago. And every time I do a Southern accent, it always ends up sounding like a woman's voice. So I'm going to try to get into it. Bear with me while I work through this. Why don't you put the forecast back up? You just took it down. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. I kind of sound like the lady from White Lotus. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Augusta, Georgia, for the 89th playing of this year's Masters. On Thursday, we've got 76 degrees and 0% chance of precipitation. Should be perfect. Friday, some early morning showers, 80% chance, high of 75. Quite windy in the PM, so watch out for those second wave guys on Friday. Now I'm dipping into Australian here.
I was gonna say you're turning into fucking Minwoo Lee over here.
Yeah, fuck me. I'm just gonna butcher this now. On Saturday, we've got 67 degrees and sunny, and then Sunday we've got 73 degrees, fair and warm for the green jacket ceremony. Y'all enjoy yourselves now. There we go. That is all I got.
Love that. Love that from you. Well done on the weather report there. Sending it back to the studio. And we're back.
Back to you in the studio. I will say, though, that the weather is pretty cool. Like, I've been keeping a pretty close eye because Charlotte is really not that far from Augusta. Like, it's far, but not that far. It's for being 2 states away. And the weather is actually fairly similar. The East Coast is just kind of getting hit with a little bit of cool weather this week, unfortunately. So the Michael Kim tweeted out that he thought the course was going to be a lot softer. So it sounds like it's draining pretty well, but overall it doesn't sound like it's going to be firm because it's definitely not going to be hot. So,
well, I was just listening to a radio show on my way into work because I'm 70 years old and still listen to the radio. Fucking hate on me. But they were talking to our favorite radio show. Shout out to the guys on Altitude, Vic, Moj, Kane. They were talking to Charles Barkley and talking about the Masters a little bit in Augusta. And Charles Barkley went into a story that he played Augusta with Peyton Manning, Dwayne Wade, and one other NBA player. Like Peyton invited them out. They played 2 days. And they said it was raining the second day all morning long, 3 hours of rain. They went to breakfast. They didn't even know if they were going to get out. They get out there on the course, and Charles said that about 5 minutes in, they had this noise that was just taking over the entire course of like a weird, almost like a helicopter, but airplane noise that's just really loud. And they said, Peyton, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on here? And it's like an airflow system that they have through the fairways and the greens that drains out the water. So it drains the entire golf course. And Peyton said in 15, 20 minutes, you won't be able to tell it rained. And that was the exact case. Charles said they played the first 2 holes, raining the whole time. 3rd and 4th hole, It was that loud noise for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then by the time they got to the 5th hole, it felt like normal again. So they have this insane technology that just drains the water out extremely quick from the entire golf course, a sub floor or sub air, whatever you want to call it. I didn't latch on to the exact term, but they have it on both the fairways and the greens. So pretty incredible, like what goes into, and maybe we should have an agronomist on, or a course, superintendent, somebody that really knows more of this stuff. But I think it's really interesting how much goes into building a golf course, more than just what you see on the surface, and all the irrigation and all the drainage points and where you put this and where you put this. And it's a lot of work and a lot of mental math and mental gymnastics that people way smarter than both of us have to deal with. But you just go out and you see green grass and you think, oh, my grass is green at my house. I water my lawn. It's pretty simple, but there's a lot more that goes into it than that. And as we're talking about course conditions and weather, got this great screenshot here from the Masters Twitter app, details of the golf course. We've got the tee inches at 5/16 of an inch, the fairways at 3/8, the second cut at 1 3/8 inches. So an extra inch, an extra inch is always helpful from the rough to the fairway. The collars are 1/4 of an inch. The greens surrounds are 5/16 of an inch, and the greens are 1/8 of an inch. So speak to the greens being 1/8 of an inch. I know you're pretty familiar with that distance.
Yeah, that's kind of like a button on a fur coat type of scenario. Looks a little bit like this, just kind of sitting outside of its surface. The greens are mowed pretty tightly. And what else did you say that what's the first cut? Like 1/4 of an inch? Oh, that's the wrong graphic.
Oh, so is that. The first cut is, they don't have the first cut. They have fairways are 3/8, and the second cut is 1 3/8. So an extra inch from the fairway to the rough.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the rough is always not very penal at Augusta. It's definitely more of a second shot type of golf course. So it is truly insane though that they're putting out reports of the tee height. I mean, or the grass height. It just goes to show you how that place is basically like an adult playground, like the purest golf course possibly in the entire world. So yeah, I would expect nothing less from Augusta.
Yeah, Augusta National, A1 in terms of taking care of their golf course. Did you hear John Rahm's comments yesterday regarding the 10th hole? He said that there was somebody that told me you can now hit a cut over the cabins on the 10th hole and get it way down there because of all of the trees that they lost last year. Remember last year, we talked about the weather report. This year, it looks to be pretty calm, maybe some rain early, but nothing too bad on Friday morning. Last year, it was an absolute mess. I mean, trees were legitimately falling down. There was viral posts about it. So they said that they've lost enough trees that they can potentially hit a cut on the 10th tee over the left side and let it go trickle down to the right side. And John goes, by the time they hear me saying this interview, there'll probably be a tree right next to the tee box tomorrow. So there's really, I mean, there's no squirrels. There's not a fucking piece of pine straw out of place at that place. I want to go so bad. And I was kind of supposed to go this year and it just didn't work out. And I don't know if I'm going to have my PGA certification into next year. So it's kind of going downhill for me. I may just start entering myself in the lottery. But yeah, just impeccable golf course, taken care of from tee to green everywhere. You're not going to see spots like we've seen at some of these PGA Tour events. And I think the best part about that is it's a tough golf course, very hilly, way more hilly than it appears on TV. But it really brings out the best of the best players. Like, yes, we've had some randoms win this before and had some lightning in a bottle weeks, but even the really good players can struggle on the greens here. They struggle with the conditions. And it's not because they're hitting balls that are getting put in weird spots because the conditions aren't perfect. It's perfect conditions. You got to hit the golf shots and go out there and win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, what is like your most memorable tee shot at Augusta? Just thinking about all the different tee shots they hit. What is one that is like forward in your mind?
I think it's probably, it might be 10. No, I take that back. It's two, the par 5, where some of the guys just rope it down there and then it goes all the way down to where they have a flat lie and a 5-iron. I know that green is extremely thin and protected by bunkers, and guys usually don't attack the pins. But that's where I get my rocks off, is when you have a guy that's made par on 1 or even maybe birdied 1 and they know they can go to 2. I'm correct on that. 2 is the par 5. Correct? I'm not just going
Yes.
to go and sound like an idiot. Yeah. And then they rope a hook and it gets down that little speed slot down there. And then you're like, oh, what if they're 3 under through 2, which has happened to quite a few players, because you can go birdie eagle fairly easily, even though the first hole is not really a birdie hole. But yeah, that second tee shot is probably my favorite on the golf course.
Yeah, that second tee, I remember Bryson last year taking one all the way up and around the corner and having like 8-iron in, or probably less than 8-iron, like something outrageous. And it really takes nuts to rope hook it all the way around that corner. But if you can do it, that, I would say that's definitely one of the most iconic tee shots. One of my favorite low key is number 11. Just 11 in general, I think, is like one of the toughest holes on the course. And it kind of feels like once you get through 10 and 11, if you can make pars there, then you are able to go on a little bit of a birdie run, relatively speaking. Like there's some easier holes ahead, but 10 and 11 are just 2 brutal par 4s. And 11 sticks out to me because that's where Ryan Fox pissed down his leg at last year on Saturday, when we had him solely in contention to make some serious money. And I remember him hitting a tee shot right, and then I think he made double. But that 11, I feel like, is what separates the men from the boys, because I think Michael Kim tweeted about number 11. He said he had like a full 4-iron into that green, and he barely got it like on the right edge of it. And talk about like a tough hole where you're hitting driver and you still have 4-iron in. Anything left is dead. But if you hit it right, it goes down into that collection area. It is just a hole that you cannot take a break on. And then obviously you go back into Amen Corner, and that's another hole where it can kind of be won or lost. And then I also got to say the tee shot on 13, and just 13 in general, the other par 5 hard dogleg left around the corner. You can definitely it feels like you can take a more direct line. We'll have to see what it looks like on TV, but you can take a more direct line to the left, or you can rope hook something around there. There's so many dudes that aim straight out and then try to draw it and then don't draw it, because there is Gray's Creek over there. And then they end up in the pine straw up into the right, and they usually have to lay up. And I think the par 5s out at Augusta are just so much fun, because this is such it's just a great test in general. Obviously it's Augusta National, but there's no rough, and it's still one of the tougher courses that these guys play year in and year out, because you have to be so strategic off the tee, and the greens are so tough. Like that's where I feel like a lot of courses are kind of lost this day and age, is they make certain things the teeth of their golf course, like thick rough and narrow fairways and this and that. Like I love a good second shot golf course. I love the fact that even if you hit a perfect drive, that you still have to execute on those approach shots in order to get it close to make birdie. And you do have to putt well, relatively speaking. And this is one of those courses too, where you got to miss it in the right spots. I know everybody talks about it, but you got to miss it in the right places. There's some spots where you miss it and it's just flat out dead. So that is where experience, in my mind, usually trumps a rookie out here at Augusta, because they just know they've got the course knowledge. They know where to hit it, where to miss it, and that can make all the difference.
Yeah, it really is a course where you have to get like a guy like Ludwig Aubert now playing in his second Masters. You may love him this week. You may hate him this week. You may have put him on your card and then deleted it and put it back on. Speaking for a friend. But a guy like that last year had a really good run, but you can tell when it comes down to it, not only the golf course being tough, but the pressure of winning the Masters on that back 9, when you've got a lot of pinpoint approach shots. And one of the things they always talk about with this tournament is it's obvious that professionals don't fire at flags all the time, but they are by far and away the most equipped to do that. And if you're an amateur golfer listening to this and you're still firing at every flag and not taking into account some of the dangers, if a pin's left and behind a bunker, to just hit it to the middle and long. I'm still working through that stuff, to be honest. A lot of the times I'm like trying to hit it to the center of the greens more. But this is a course where probably, if you got to see somebody's true game plan and they knew where the flags were at, which they will going out there, there's probably a good 12 to 13 times that the flag is not even part of the equation. It's the first thing you look at, and then everything else, the target line, where you're trying to hit it, where you're trying to miss it, is all away from that flag in order to give yourself the best chance to make. You don't have to make a lot of birdies out here. And the cool thing is the par fives are birdieable. 8, I think, is the toughest one. That real uphill one where we've seen guys like thin second shots, and you can kind of get lucky. And there's very few eagles on that hole, but like 2 will see a lot of eagles. 15 can see a lot of eagles depending upon the conditions. So the par fives are pretty scoreable, but you not a lot of the time are attacking flags out at Augusta National. And it really matters not only where you miss off the green, but even where you miss on the green, because the putting is so diabolical that you can easily 3-putt 5 to 10 times in a round, even being the best putters in the world in these professionals.
100%, dude. I mean, these greens have made people look silly for years and years, and they will continue to do so. I really want to see them get like nice and crispy over the weekend. Hopefully they can dry it out enough. One other approach shot that I always think about as well is the 17th. They always put that pin kind of in the back middle, and there's a ridge to the left where if you can ride it all the way over from the left side, it's kind of back right, back middle right-ish, shaded in there. And it's just such a tough flag. But if you're super precise with your approach shot, you can get something to funnel right down towards the hole. So that's kind of where I would like to see somebody have to make or break a shot, or make or break their tournament there. I want to say I saw a stat that the last 5 Masters, I think there hasn't been a single one where there's anyone within like 2 or 3 shots of the lead coming down like the last 4 holes. So we haven't really had a very competitive Masters in the last half of decade. Like I really would love nothing more than to see 2 guys just battle it out coming down the stretch. I mean, I care who it is, but at the end of the day, if it's competitive, I don't give a shit who it is. I just want to see a couple of dudes battling it out.
Yeah, we want to see some action and not just be having to glaze someone for 15, 16, 17, 18 in our live show on Sunday and finding other storylines, other hilarious things that happen, guys that shot 80 that we all predicted to be good, things like that. And I'd rather be really dialed into each golf shot and see what happens down the stretch, because the pressure of that is unbelievable. And especially for guys that have been there before, like the pressure's on everyone, but it's definitely up a level for a few guys. And even a guy like Rory, who's won multiple majors, but never won the Masters, if he has a lead or is close to the lead on Sunday and is not playing from 10 shots behind, where he can comfortably go out and shoot 63 and finish in the top 5, his kind of standard major scorecard there, he is going to have the pressure of the world on him. Whereas most other guys, some of the guys could just be like, I'm happy to just be in this position. And I think that was Ludwig last year. That was Max Homa last year. And Scottie ended up just playing the pure golf that he plays and just being smart. That's one of the things. Scottie's just a smart player around the golf course. And so he ended up winning and winning convincingly. Let's talk about the...
Wait, I want to talk to you real quick because you mentioned Max Homa, and I don't think we're going to mention him probably for the rest of this pod. But did you see that his caddy like broke up with him? His caddy left him. And
yeah,
I want to get your thoughts on it because I told Missy about it, my girlfriend, and she's kind of the barometer for like how extreme something is. Like I told her about Malone getting fired yesterday, and she wasn't that shocked. And I was like, really? I kind of felt like that was some shocking news. And when I told her Max's caddy left him, she didn't believe me. She's like, she's like, sure, they reported that in the media, but do you really believe the media? I'm like, he said that his caddy was the one to make the decision to leave. So I guess they're friends first. I guess they're like best buddies, and they always have been. But how weird does that have to be? And what do you what do you feel like drove him to this point? Like, what's going on there?
Well, I feel like Max struggling on the course didn't help, and who knows what was going on behind the scenes, whether Max kind of was like, hey, you need to pick it up, or the caddy was like, dude, I just can't. I've got the game plan. I feel like we're in good spots, and then you're just not executing anything. And I think it's kind of interesting when reading Max's whole quote talking about it and saying they are friends first and they want to stay friends first. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's smart of his caddy to, they want to stay friends. So he's going to break up with him. And did you see who he's on the bag for this week?
Yeah,
Justin Thomas.
He's on Justin Thomas's bag because I guess Justin's usual guy is sick. So it's not just like Justin is stealing him from him right off the bat. Just your ex-girlfriend's out there dating a new guy the very next week. But in all honesty, when shit's going bad like it is for Max right now, do you really consider your best friend a guy that's gonna, like, at your lowest moment dip out on you? I feel like that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I feel like it is, but that's also his profession. It doesn't feel like it because he's playing golf, but he's making millions of dollars and that's his actual job. So his friend's more just taking himself out of his job and probably still there for him outside of the work. But maybe even too, maybe his caddy thought that Max would be better off as well, hearing from a different voice, especially through this thing. Like, you can have best friends, but people still go to therapists all the time. Like your best friend isn't maybe going to be able to talk you through and walk you through everything like a therapist would be able to, or an outside agency that has a different perspective on it. Also, shout out to Max Homa, greatest baby announcement of all time. Did you see that? Waited till he got to Magnolia Lane, and him, his daughter, and his wife took a picture announcing their second baby is on the way from Magnolia Lane. Elite baby announcement.
Yeah, that's about as top tier as you can get. That is one of the most gate kept. Like, nobody, not very many other people can really do that. So you definitely got to somehow work Augusta in there. And who knows when, Max is going to be back in the Masters again. Hopefully he can turn it around. But it's just, his caddy's been with him through everything. He rose up from being a non-winner, a kind of a no-name on the PGA Tour, to being this household guy. And his caddy's been with him the whole time. And I mean, he's made his caddy, he's given his caddy a career. Like, this dude, Max, could have never made it on the PGA Tour and never made this money. And I feel like it's kind of like leaving who got you there. I don't know if that is weird to me. But I definitely, if I was caddying for my best friend and he was struggling, I wouldn't be like, yeah, dude, I think I got to get off your bag, unless it was legitimately with his best interest in mind. But that's where I think, unless Max wouldn't fire him, that it was kind of like, you're not firing me because I quit, or if you're not going to fire me, I have to quit type of thing. But I would have to let my friend fire me to feel of good conscience about leaving him pretty much at his lowest point in the last few years, where he's struggling more, switching equipment, switching coaches, all this shit. And now he's got to deal with a new caddy as well. So I don't really know what the plan is for Max. Maybe a change of scenery will do him well, just like you said, when a coach gets fired in the NBA or the NHL or whatever, just hearing a different voice. But it just felt like, it felt very similar to the Nuggets firing Malone 3 days before the season. Like, you break up with your caddy right before the Masters. You couldn't have waited a week later to get your feet underneath you with another guy at the RBC or some event that's a non-major. Like, I don't know. It felt like weird timing, and it feels a little bit like Max is getting done a little dirty there.
Yeah, I understand that, but he also, like you said, friendship is more important than anything else to them in this instance. So that's why they ended up making the breakup. And it'll be interesting to see if Max, I heard you on the roundtable. Shout out to the Golfer Gang Network. We are part of the Golfer Gang Network podcast, but somebody goes, if Max Homa shows up with a local Augusta caddy, I'm betting the house, or something to that effect. So it would be pretty funny to see. It'll be cool to see who he shows up with on his bag, and wonder if it is going to be a local caddy or not. Real quick, before we get into some more storylines from the Masters, we want to build our own Masters dinner. So Scottie His dinner came out very similar to one that he had a couple of years ago. I'm going to try some production value here. Let me try this. Oh,
you're right there.
no, this is
that's
not good.
there. Okay, there we go.
We'll just cut off half of our faces, maybe scoot over.
Wrong
So
way.
this is from other way. This is from Front Office Sports. They did a little Masters, create your own Masters dinner. I'll go first with this. Appetizer by a mile is going to be pigs in a blankie. I think it's an elite.
Why don't we, for the people listening on the audio version, why don't you give them a rundown of all the options here?
Okay, here we go. So Front Office Sports put this on Instagram. Masters dinner, create your own. The 4 appetizers they have are mini sliders.
How can you not see this? What is your
Scottie
deal?
Scheffler, pigs in a blanket, Dustin Johnson, sushi from Hideki, or Canadian beer from Mike Weir. Okay, now the screen's frozen. That's a great look. The main course, we've got bone-in ribeye, something barbecue, surf and turf, burger and fries. Tiger Woods just going super old school after his first Masters. And then dessert, we have a skillet cookie, lychee sorbet, sherbet.
I think it's lychee.
Lychee sorbet, tiramisu, and churros. So I'll run through mine real quick. Pretty simple guy. I think pigs in a blanket's an elite move. Dustin Johnson just kind of trolling, but being hilarious. And then I'd go bone-in ribeye. I'd go with Scottie there. And then I would also go with, or the bone-in ribeye was John Rahm, excuse me. And then I think the dessert, out of those 4 choices, I'd probably go the skillet cookie. I mean, I'm not a big sorbet fan. I don't even know how to fucking pronounce that. Tiramisu's like fine. And churros, I'm completely not a fan of. Like churros is like the side dessert. If you bring like multiple desserts to a dinner and like a party, like a Christmas party, churros can be part of the dessert, but they can't be the only dessert.
Yeah, I honestly think that churros are one of the most overrated desserts in the game. I'm not a big churro guy because generally speaking, they're a lot more firm than you want them to be. I love a good soft churro, but they're like never soft. They always feel like they're too hard. I don't like the texture of them. I like a little fluff. But I'm going to go Canadian beer as an appetizer. How can you turn that down? Just drink 6 Molsons to start your dinner out. I feel like that's a pretty good choice. But I also love sushi. So I'd go Canadian beer with the idea that I'm going surf and turf. Adam Scott 2014, a little lobster tail and a steak, hopefully some mashed potatoes, a dinner roll, maybe some asparagus. So my piss smells bad. And then,
bro, that is the most unreal like phenomenon on the planet. Like I had asparagus on Monday and I was pissing and I was like, and it's the quickest thing to hit you. It's like, I don't understand how it just clobbers you and immediately goes right to your piss. I don't understand the physics behind it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, but it is truly one of the 7 wonders of this world. I would go skillet cookie, but since you went skillet cookie, I'm going to go tiramisu. I do love tiramisu. I like wet cake. That sounds very odd, but I love cake that's like drenched in milk. So I like a good like tres leches cake. I think that just means 3 milks. I think it's a Hispanic cake of some sort, but I love like wet, spongy cake. That is my shit. So I would go tiramisu, maybe with a little, like, just throw some espresso right on it. Just dump espresso, fresh, or maybe not fresh, hot espresso, but some cold espresso right on top. So you can dip the lady fingers directly in the espresso.
Love that. Let's get to some more storylines for this year's Masters. I'll start out with one of mine, which I'm kind of being facetious here, but I'm also kind of serious. I don't think that this guy can win the tournament, but Angel Cabrera, literally using a jailbird putter, hilarious, won last week on the senior tour, has already won the Masters, been in the clink for over 2 years, showing up at Augusta this year, went to the champions dinner. He's done this before. I think there's a legit chance at him making the cut, and I'm not going to give out my picks quite yet. We'll do that at the end of the show, but like that's a storyline in itself, and not even the funny part about this is I think what's kind of missed on this is he spent 2 years in jail for abusing like his ex-girlfriend. So it's not a laughing matter by any means. And it's not like a Scottie Scheffler scenario where it kind of just turned out to be a mistake. Like this guy's kind of a dickhead, but the fact that he's already won the Masters, he's coming back and he's clearly in form. I mean, the senior tour, whatever you want to say about it, guys just show up there and win. It's not easy. It's not a walk in the park to go win on the senior tour. This isn't the fucking amateur open at your local Muni that he won, or, you know, even a state open. It's the senior tour with a lot of guys that have won a lot of majors and still played a lot of good golf. And he just goes out there and wins in a final tune-up right before the Masters. So I think that's one of my biggest storylines is Angel Cabrera. And we'll get into it with our picks a little bit too, but I really, and maybe it's just because I'm schizophrenic and can't pick a guy to save my life, but I truly believe there's a list of 15 guys to maybe 20 that if they won this Masters, I would be like, yeah, I should have seen that coming. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's been like that in the past.
I totally agree. I mean, Scottie not being on top form, Rory not having that closing ability, unless it's against JJ Spawn making triple on 17 at Sawgrass. None of the guys, the first two guys at the very top, and then you have Xander Schauffele right up there, who's been pretty inconsistent and was hurt at the beginning of the season. Then you have Victor Hovland, who won a couple weeks ago and was absolutely shocked with himself that he won a couple weeks ago. And then you have Hideki Matsuyama, who's had a good season, but isn't looking like tip-top form. There's just so many dudes at the top that you have no idea what to expect out of them, where I do feel like truly this Masters is more wide open than it has been in years. And that gets me excited. The Angel Cabrera storyline is big just because I think that he's the type of dude that can still hit it far enough to be able to really get around out here. And speaking of older guys, did you see Bernhard Langer? Did you see the car that they gave him for, like, I want to say, what is this, his like 30th straight Masters or some shit?
It's an incredible amount of Masters that he's played in. And then I was just shocked by the incredible amount of money that Mercedes has to give him a green fucking car. Like, how do they just do that? He must have been a longtime partner of theirs, making them a lot of money. It had to be the case.
Yeah, well, he's always had a Mercedes logo on his hat for years. So I think that is probably the case. But that the car that he got is like one of the sickest cars. It's, what is it, a GLE? I don't even know. I'm not super familiar with the Mercedes.
You can just throw like 3 letters together and then like 2 or 3 numbers, and it sounds like a Mercedes.
Exactly, but it's all the interior. The headrests say the 2 years he won it, 1985 and 1993. It's got his signature on like the console, like the fucking doors. I don't even know what that's called. The side paneling is all like white leather with green stitching in it. Like truly one of the sickest cars that I've ever seen. I am very jealous. So happy for Bernhard Langer. He's just going to be anchoring out there this entire weekend at the Masters, sticking that thing right in his chest and just getting after it. So maybe somebody will finally call him on and tell him to get that fucking hand off his chest. Let's get into a few other big storylines like Rory. Like, do you truly think that Rory can get it done, or do you just be 100% honest, gun to your head? What is going to happen with Rory this week?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. And I think I'll be really angry if I'm not on him and he wins it. I'm not going to be on him because his odds are so low for never winning this event. But he's already won twice this year, won big events, won the Players, and won at Torrey, or maybe at Torrey Pines, right? He like 2 big signature event.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I was going to say Ludwig won at Torrey, but they played twice at Torrey. So
yeah. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, if I say Torrey, I'm pretty sure that's correct. But he's won twice already this year. I feel like he's kind of, we saw the blow up at TPC Sawgrass with the kid. I feel like he's kind of taking on more of the villain role, but I also think that he's embracing it. And I think he's realizing that, hey, some of the stuff he said through Full Swing and being in the TGL and people kind of shitting on him for choking. Like, I feel like a few times that's happened in his career when he's been this PGA Tour shill that he's been the last couple of years. He stepped up and won. He won the Canadian Open right after all the stuff came out with Liv, and he was very vocal about it. So I feel like he is in my 15 to 20 guys that can win, and that sounds super chalky, but I would not be surprised if he wins it. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he looks really good the first 2 days and then stumbles and is an afterthought come late Saturday afternoon going into, the final day on Sunday.
Yeah, well, that's my thing is you wouldn't be surprised if he won it, but there's a difference between being surprised if he won it and expecting him to win it. And I truly don't see how you can expect him to win it when he's never gotten it done. It's been over 10 years since he's won a major. He's coming off probably his biggest heartbreak at a major in his career last year at the US Open, missing 2 3-foot putts. Like, I don't know if he has it mentally in him to go out and go not necessarily even wire to wire, but just go get it done on Sunday. And that is low key. I was looking at some of his stats. It may not even be Sunday where he loses the event. He is top 15 in rounds 1, 2, and 4 on the PGA Tour in scoring average. But the third round, he is 67th, I want to say, on tour in scoring average. So he is middle of the pack on Saturdays. And that could be, it feels like Saturday is the day that he usually loses the tournament. And then Sunday's the day he comes back and shoots 67 and backdoors the top 5. So I don't know. Does he have it in him to play 4 really solid rounds of golf? Kind of remains to be seen. And I'm not going to bet on it until I see him do it. And that's, we talk about guys like possibly winning for the first time here at Augusta this year. And I think Rory would be like the most shocking first-time winner, just because I think it's even harder. The more you do something and fail, I feel like the harder it becomes. A lot of these guys that are only out there, like Ludwig's like, this is my second Masters. If I don't win, I got next year. I got a decades ahead of me to come back and play this event. And there's not a lot of pressure. And I just don't think Rory thrives under that pressure. So I do not think he's going to win. And it's just going to be one round, possibly on Saturday, that kills his chances. And then Ludwig Aberg as well. Like, a lot of people have him as a favorite. He was in contention last year, coming down the stretch on Sunday. Played pretty poorly coming down the stretch. It was his first Masters, but his ball striking numbers this year are not near as good. Approach from the fairway, and around the green, he hasn't been good. On the green, he hasn't been good. He's still driving it like a Swedish driving machine. But his irons have just not been very sharp this year. So I don't see him really getting it done either.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this off air before the pod, but I was very in on him. He was on my card as my one winner at plus 2,000, I believe. And then I saw, Twitter is just, you can go through. I wanted to take the time and go through all the different threads I saw and like weight the averages of the players that were in everybody's loves or everybody's hates, or these 6 guys can win the Masters because of these stats. We see it every single year with the NCAA tournament, Masters, big events like this. But last year he gained 8 strokes on the field on the greens. And while, yes, on the surface, if you just looked at the leaderboard on Sunday and saw I think he was leading it actually outright on Saturday late or early Sunday. And then you see him top 5ing it in his first ever appearance there. You think, okay, well, he's got to be in your small circle of people that can win it. But gaining 8 strokes on the green on the field at the Masters on the putting is like unheard of. And I don't just think it can ever happen again. It's like, it's not something that you just pencil in as, yeah, he did that once, he can do it again. And as you've mentioned multiple times, this is a second shot golf course. And normally his irons and approach game is really good. And it hasn't been this year. So I think he could be one of the flops, if you will, of somebody that everybody seems to be on. And then he ends up finishing, top 20 or misses the cut. There's going to be a few guys that miss the cut. And maybe on Sunday we should do an all miss the cut team of guys that we thought had a shot to win it and they missed the cut. I think we can do that. But I think he could be in that, or he can win it. If he wins it, I'm going to be livid because I deleted his name and put fucking someone else on there. So I could see that happening because that's how my betting life goes. But yeah, Ludwig Aubert is a very special case where I do have him to win any major this year. So hopefully that happens. Maybe it's this week, but he's the guy that will be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, in almost every single major for the next 5 to 10 years, barring something crazy happening.
So do you know what's funny? I actually saw that if you bet Ludwig individually at each major for a quarter of the amount that you were going to put on him to win any major, the odds are actually much better to individually bet him to win each major. So I think you're a dipshit for taking that bet, because I saw one of the guys, I'll just give you a hint, one of the worst putting strokes you've ever seen with your own two eyes, posted a picture that he took him last year to win any major this year. And everybody in the replies was like, the odds are just way better if you bet him at every individual major. So that was pretty fucking funny as well, because you're going to be that guy as well. You and Captain Cross Eyes are in the same boat with your bet. But last thing I want to say,
schizophrenia.
Yeah. Captain, fucking can't stop yipping it down at the bottom. I think the last storyline we can talk about before we get to our picks is just the LIV versus PGA Tour players, like who we think is going to be better. And I truly do think that there is 4 or 5 guys from the LIV Tour that could compete this week and play pretty damn well. I think Phil Mickelson has a really good shot. People forget that he won a major just like 3 years ago at Kiawah. His game is in great shape. He was competing at Doral this last week at LIV, on the LIV Tour, I should say. I could see Phil Mickelson playing well. I could see Joaquin Niemann playing well. I think Cam Smith, we just saw him come out and practice in a fucking full-blown dress coat earlier today on Wednesday. So is he getting ready for his green jacket? Like, he said that Augusta National brings something out of him that no other golf course does. So what do we feel like is going to happen with Cam Smith? And then obviously you have Bryson DeChambeau, who's the highest odds on favorite of any LIV player to win the event. So what do you think is going to come of this?
I mean, it's not going to show in my betting card, unfortunately, but I think I'd rate it a 60-40 chance that if I just had the chance to take a LIV player or the field, I think I'd take a LIV player, because you go down the list and you just mentioned a lot of these guys. Okay, Bryson DeChambeau's here on a U.S. Open exemption.
I forgot Brooks Koepka, just one of the most clutch major players ever, is also participating in this event as well.
Yes, Sergio, who I placed a bet on a couple months ago after he won the LIV Tour event. He's a past champion. Tyrrell Hatton's finished top 12 in the previous year's Masters and has finished in the top 10 a couple of times. Dustin Johnson's won it. Brooks Koepka's won a major, won the PGA. That's how he's in it. Phil Mickelson's won this event. Joaquin Niemann is the only special invitation where he didn't really win anything. But according to Phil Mickelson, he's the best player in the world. So yeah, there's that. John Rahm, past champion. Patrick Reed, past champion. Charles Schwartzel, past champion. Cameron Smith won the Open Championship and has been nails here, was top 10 last year at Augusta. And Bubba Watson, past champion. I would say out of all of those guys, the only guys I would be really shocked that won it would be Schwartzel and maybe Watson and Reed. Those 3 guys. Patrick Reed, I wouldn't be surprised if he won it, but then I'd be surprised if Joaquin won it because of how bad he's been in majors, even though he is, according to Phil Mickelson, the best player in the world. But any of those other guys, if they won this, I'd be like, yeah, I could have seen that. I should have seen that on Wednesday as we were doing the podcast and put him on the card. So it's a stacked field of, you're not getting the Caleb Surratts and the fucking guys like that are playing in this thing. Every single one of these guys, I think, has an outside chance to win it, and a good 8 to 10 of them have a legit shot and should be widely considered to win the event.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it is truly insane to go down the list of live players. And it feels like they actually have more superstars than the PGA Tour does at this point. When you name all those names. And another thing I just realized is I don't think I've watched Sergio hit a golf shot in like a year. I don't even remember watching him play. I haven't watched much live, if I'm being real honest.
The last
And
time I watched him play was when he won that live event. I think it was last year, where it was really dark. It was like almost like nighttime, and the cameras make it look lighter out, but he won in a playoff, and it was like pitch black out. I think it was maybe in Mexico, I want to say. That's the last time I watched Sergio. And the time when didn't he get an ace? That was on the PGA Tour, though. That was like maybe years ago. That was at the Texas. I think it was at the Valero Texas Open or the match play. I think he was in the match play and made an ace. That's maybe the
honestly,
last time I seriously Sergio.
Yeah, the last time I legitimately remember watching him, I think he was playing in the match play against John Rahm at Austin Country Club. That is the last fucking time I watched Sergio hit a golf shot. So it's just kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing where you forget about what the guy is capable of. One of the most talented tee to green dudes that's been around for, the last 20, 25 years. And it's just so easy to forget about him. So yeah, the live deck is stacked. I mean, they have a very good shot at winning this. And obviously the conversation remains, is live and the PGA Tour ever going to figure it out? And that's a whole conversation for a different time. So
yeah, let's get into pairings and some of our favorite pairings. The Masters is probably the best event of the year in terms of putting guys together that just make great content on the golf course, and not talking literally with Bryson DeChambeau. He was asked yesterday if he's getting too much into YouTube and needs to take a step back and worry about more professional golf, which is hilarious. But some of my favorite pairings, I want to go with Bobby McIntyre, Billy Horschel, Nick Dunlap, I think is an interesting one. Bobby Mack he's in my 25 to 30 of guys to win it. He has a shot at winning this event, as crazy as it sounds. And then Billy Horschel's really done a turn for me since being on the TGL and what I've seen there. I think it's hilarious that I think this is the case every year, but Jose Luis Ballester, the guy that took down our boy Noah Kent, who's now a Florida Gator, so he's not really our boy anymore. He's not a Hawkeye anymore. But he plays with Scottie Scheffler and Justin Thomas. And then this one is great just in terms of the emotions that go into it. Having Jordan Spieth, Tom Kim, who's chill as fuck, and then Tyrrell Hatton in the same group is an electric factory. I forget what the exact tweet said, but it was like, how does spontaneous combustion in 3, 2, 1? Like, it's those three guys. If that's a featured group, I think cameras for the first couple of days. I'm not a big Spieth guy, but just the emotions from him, and Tyrrell's much CTV. So I think that's a great combo of three guys.
yeah, I agree. It's going to be funny if you could do like a foot tracer on Tyrrell and Jordan Spieth. Like, feels like Tom Kim's going to be kind of walking mostly down the middle of the fairway, maybe a little left, a little right. Tyrrell's going to be off in the fucking pine straw. Jordan Spieth's going to be off in the pine straw. They're both going to be yelling fucking. I don't think Jordan Spieth cusses, but Tyrrell definitely cusses. So that's just going to be a pretty funny group to watch. The Morikawa, Joaquin Niemann, Minwoo Lee grouping is a fantastic pairing. That's three dudes that could definitely win. Morikawa, we kind of talked about this before the pod. Another storyline where it feels like he's playing great golf, but he also can't finish. He's got no dog. That meme with the dog on the heart, it's not there for him. He's got a little chihuahua, little yipper dog, a little fucking bow, 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 bow. It's not the big bulldog that you'd hoping he would have in his chest. But we just haven't seen him play enough golf to really like feel like we can give a definitive answer as to what Colin Morikawa is going to do this week. Is he somebody I could see winning? Maybe. Will I be pissed if he wins? Absolutely, because I just really don't like the guy that much. Having said that, strokes gained approach, he's top 5 pretty much since he's been on tour. Just in hitting greens, he's great with his irons, one of the best iron players on tour. So you can't really count him out. And then we have The following group is Phil Mickelson, Jason Day, Keegan Bradley. And I really do feel like Keegan Bradley could make some noise this weekend as well. He's been hitting it phenomenally. It feels like these last couple years have been a career resurgence for the guy. You really didn't hear from him much. Now he's hitting as well as ever, obviously sparked by him being the Ryder Cup captain. And then let's see if we've got anybody in the afternoon groups that I
Adam
like.
Scott, Xander, and Victor Hovland is an interesting one. Adam Scott, obviously a past champion here. I think you're pretty heavy on him this week. Xander's had a really weird year. After last year, we were talking about, is he the best player in the world? And then Scottie goes and wins the FedEx Cup, and it's kind of solidified that it was, in fact, Scottie, even though Xander had the 2 majors. And so maybe Xander's turning into a little bit of a Colin Morikawa-y, where he doesn't play that well or doesn't win when it doesn't matter, or it's not a major and massive pressure and stakes are higher. So maybe Xander comes out and shocks the world this week. Wouldn't surprise me. And Victor is in a complete wild card. Victor is won. He said he's lost and then he's won, and he's comparing himself to Eminem from 8 Mile in an interview yesterday, talking about like, I'm just getting it all out there so you have nothing on me. He's like, you can't talk about how lost I am because I'm already telling you how lost I am, basically. So Victor Hovland's a wild card in this as well. Showed up in a fire sweater yesterday. Absolute gas. And then Scott is just the old guy that's been around Augusta, but still good enough to definitely compete there.
Yeah, 100%. And then a couple more, obviously, marquee groups. You've got McIlroy, Aberg, and Batia, 1:12 Thursday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. What if I told you, Brian Windhorse Fingers, what if I told you Akshay Batia is going to be the lowest man in that group come Sunday afternoon? Would I be absolutely insane to say that in the McIlroy, Aberg, Batia group that Akshay is going to come out on top of that? Like, I really do feel good about Akshay's chances. He's a guy that flies under the radar. I think he's like plus 7,000, between 6,000 and 7,000 to win it. And that is absolutely a guy. If you saw him putting on a green jacket that's built for like a fucking 12-year-old, that's about 1.5 feet wide, like super fucking long as my body, that's what Akshay Batia's green jacket is going to look like. I wouldn't be that shocked. And then the Matsuyama, Dechambeau, Lowry pairing right after, that's like the ultimate choose your fighter group for me. Like, you could see a Mortal Kombat. You've got Hideki, the relatively fit Japanese guy. Then you've got Shane Lowry, the chunky Irishman. And then you've got Bryson DeChambeau, the meathead American. Like, that is probably the most diverse group that you can have of just 3 marquee dudes. And talk about 3 different games, like 3 completely different games. And they're all just elite players. So that's going to be a fun one to watch as well, because obviously DeChambeau is the longest player in that group by a fair amount, but is he going to be the one that can actually capitalize on it? It kind of remains to be seen.
That group right there is probably the top to bottom, the strongest 3 in terms of they all have a legit elite shot at winning this tournament, in my opinion. Obviously, we're going to get to our picks, but that is the strongest group by far. Hideki's already won a signature event this year. Bryson's looking to break through at the Masters, but has won multiple majors. And Shane Lowry's won a major, but is stats-wise is very, very primed to potentially win at Augusta, and I'm ready to have my heart broken by him, which brings us into our big bet energy final picks on the card. Like I said, this looked different about an hour ago, and I changed my mind. So let's get to this. I'll start replacing Ludwig Aubert at plus 2,000. I have Shane Lowry to win the event at plus 4,500. Russell Henley to top 10 at plus 300. And then Angel Cabrera plus 280 to make the cut. Full disclosure, I did this bet because DraftKings had a little boost out there, a make the cut boost. And if you bet somebody at, I think, plus 100 or better, you couldn't bet. There was like some certain terms to that. And you got a free bonus bet up to whatever you placed on this guy to make the cut. So I placed a bet on Angel Cabrera to make a cut. And then I got a free bet, in full disclosure, this is before my card changed, I used that free bet on Ludwig Aubert winning it because that was my original pick. So I've got a little skin out there on Ludwig, but my official picks are going in as Shane Lowry to win, Russell Henley to top 10, and Angel Cabrera, fresh off his win on the Champions Tour, to make the cut at plus 280.
Okay, I do like that. And one quick thing about Shane Lowry, would you be like super shocked to see him miss the cut? Because I feel like he's become this statistical darling that everybody feels like they found some sort of diamond in the rough with Shane Lowry, and I almost feel like he's getting heavily bet now. And that makes me feel like he's going to have a bad week. Am I completely off base there?
No, you're on base there. I think the thing about Shane Lowry's game, from watching him and being hurt by him a bunch of times, and I'm ready to be hurt again, is that he's never really an exceptional putter. When he gets hot and putts well, that's when he wins. But I think the thing about Augusta National is, even if Shane's a mediocre putter, it's very rare that somebody's going to putt their way to a win at Augusta. You can hit your way to a win at Augusta. You can ball strike your way to a win at Augusta, but you can't necessarily putt your way to a win. So I think at this kind of course where putting is obviously very crucial, but at the same time, there's not this giant, the guys that really suck on the greens will be missing the cut, but the guys that are kind of mediocre on the greens but are hitting it really well are always going to have a chance here, in my opinion. So I think that's where I wouldn't be surprised if Shane Lowry misses the cut, especially now that I've put him in writing on my betting card. But I think that the putting being semi-equal between a lot of the top players, his ball striking ability will be able to keep him in it.
Yeah, no, I do. I like that. I agree. And Russell Henley's just very solid. One of the most low key dudes out there. So I am going to roll with Brooks Koepka at plus 3,000. I really do like, he's the easiest guy to pick at every single major. It feels like he can go out there and win any given major. He's just kind of got that dog in him like that, unlike Colin Morikawa. And I really do think that he is ready to win a green jacket. He's been in contention multiple times, and it feels like the wheels have kind of fallen off. And in all honesty, I feel like Brooks has flown under the radar as well. So I think that benefits him too, not being the center of attention, everybody expecting him to win. I think he'd rather be the underdog. He succeeds in that role. And then Adam Scott plus 700 to top 10. I think Old Man Winter is going to turn back the clock. I think he's in his mid 40s, but the guy's swing is absolutely timeless. He knows Augusta like the back of his hand. He's always been very good here, and I just like that number plus 700. And then Byung-Hun An plus 500 to be the top Asian. That sounds like a cooking show. Who's the next top Asian? But he is playing some great golf currently, and I think Hideki's been playing well too, but at the same time, I think Ben On could surprise a lot of people and have a strong finish here. And at plus 500, I don't see the problem with that number.
Yeah, no, that's a great number for that. I got to say, when I went in to bet it, because I bet all your picks always, I wasn't really thrilled with the other guys in this grouping, mainly Hideki, because he scares me and he's firmly in my can win this event. But let's see, it's Hideki, Sanjay, Tom Kim, Byung-Hun An, Kevin Yu, and Hiroshi Tai. So I think seeing I love the value at 500, let me tell you that. But seeing Hideki and Sanjay, who has basically he's won the Masters before and is one of my guys that I anticipate to potentially win it again, I think that makes it a little scarier.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, a lot of the Asians, like Sanjay M is not having a good season. Tom Kim is having a rough season. So I kind of see this coming down to Ben On versus Hideki. And you give me that, plus 500, I feel like there's a pretty good chance of that happening. So Ben On, we've talked about him, but he feels like one of the most non-talked about guys that just churns out top tens like it's his literal job, which it is. But did you like my top Asian comment? I couldn't see your face. I heard you laughing, but
yeah,
it does sound like a cooking show.
I snorted in the microphone a little bit, so that was well done. That was very well done.
Next top Asian.
Let's finish this Masters pod up with our signature Wednesday sequence of What the Fuck Wednesday, where we go through something during the week that we're just looking at ourselves and saying basically what the fuck. Do you want to start us off, or do you want me to kick it off this week?
I will go ahead and kick it off because my attention span is just pretty short, and I'm always thinking about other shit. I feel like we're kind of in the same boat there, but I had a couple instances this week that really were just head scratchers. So I went to make. I knew I had just bought lettuce like the day before. I always go down to Whole Foods, buy us some nice fresh lettuce, cut it up myself. And I was looking in the fridge because I was going to make us a Caesar salad, best salad in the world. Can't beat a Caesar. I was going to make us a Caesar, and the lettuce just is not there. I'm like, where the fuck did the lettuce go? I could have sworn, and I'm sure Missy just thinks I'm losing my mind because she's like, hey, there's just no lettuce. Like, what are you talking about? Because she really doesn't look in the fridge very much. So she's like, where's like, there's no fucking lettuce. It's okay. I feel like I'm having some sort of episode. And then the next day, I rip open the freezer for something, and there sits the lettuce in the freezer, just frozen as all fucking get out. And then my dumbass, I throw it back in the fridge, and then the next night I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make us a Caesar. I don't buy lettuce. I think about it at Whole Foods. I'm like, I'm gonna buy some lettuce. Or I don't need lettuce because we have it at home. I took it out of the freezer, thankfully, and so I don't buy any. I get home. And the lettuce is just, if you didn't know, you can't put lettuce in the freezer and then thaw it because it just turns into mush. Like, I don't know if the water just freezes and like wilts all the leaves, but it was just fucking garbage at that point. So I was just pissed off at myself. Just one of those things it just slips your mind. And then this morning I was thinking about like the Masters show, like thinking about, I got to head down to the golf course after this and just mapping out my day, and I've got like a quarter cup of coffee left, and I just dump it in the trash. Like I take the coffee cup and almost throw the coffee cup in the trash, and I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking, dude? Like, you think this trash can is the sink? I just catch myself. My mind feels like it's just in a completely other place. Like I'm physically in one place and my mind is in a completely other place. And that happens to me frequently.
Yeah, well, I'm piggybacking off that perfectly because mine are the exact same. I have two, and it's kind of in the same light of this exactly. So the other day I was washing my hands at work, and we have this very high level dry hand dryer, but it takes forever to get your hands dry. So I set my phone down, take a piss, set my phone down on the counter. Then I piss, wash my hands, go to the dryer. I dry my hands completely, which takes like 30 seconds. It feels way too long. And then I go back to the sink to grab my phone. I just start washing my hands again. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I just did this. And so I'm like, now I have to go back, fucking dry them again. Takes forever. And then last night, I aerated my whole backyard. I've been doing some real dad shit lately. This little hand aerator, worst idea ever. But I finally got it done. I was like determined yesterday that no matter how long it took me, perfect timing. I made it in right for dinner. But I make it inside for dinner, and I'm like pretty exhausted. I've been sweating. It was a nice time to do it, but I'm still sweating from going up and down in this basically aeration pogo stick for a fucking hour and a half, getting my yard dialed. Hopefully I'm going to have some grass this year in my backyard, but I go inside and I go to make myself, I always have a constant rotation of either tea or lemonade. And I basically mix these together. Like I'll make a pitcher of tea, and then when it gets halfway down, I'll add a lemonade, fill it back up. So now it's an Arnold Palmer. Then I'll drink half of that, and then I fill it back up with tea again or whatever. But so I'm like, oh, this tea is going to slap. I'm on this fucking diet where I can't have any sugar. And I pull out a cup for myself, and then I pull out my son's milk and start pouring the milk into my cup. And I get like 3/4 of the way through this pour, and I'm like, I don't want fucking growing kids whole milk. This is not what I want. I want tea. I want my fucking Arnie Palmy. So kind of exactly along the same lines where I'm just doing something and I'm just not there. I'm just not focused on what I'm doing, which is
I would have drank your son's milk respectfully, knock that out of the park.
Yeah, you're a sick fuck.
I fucking love milk. I do look like somebody that enjoys milk, but I will die on that hill. My bones are strong as fuck for that. That's why I'm so thick, because it's all in my bones. I'm not fat. my bones are just that strong. Like I'm built like a fucking steel. I have steel beams running through me.
That's incredible. Well, that wraps it up for us on our Masters preview. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're on the YouTube, give us a thumbs up on your way out. We'd appreciate that. Follow along with us all weekend on social media. We'll be tweeting out videos, funny in our eyes tweets just regarding the Masters. Looking forward to the first major of the year, crowning that first major. And as a reminder, we will be live on Sunday afternoon as the final group hits about 15, 16. Watch them through Amen Corner and then hop on the computer and talk to all of you guys. So hop in the comments there. We love to talk about it. Love to see if you have the winning bets. Hopefully, as Mitchell alluded to earlier, we've got a closer major where we're rooting for some guys and just watching some actual pressure on some golf shots instead of guys just cruising to victory to the green jacket. So make sure you're following along with us on all the socials at Big Drive Energy, at Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram. We will talk to you guys on Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the Masters. Best week of viewing television of the year. Peace.